The Two Travellers. The moral and magical tale of the two travellers is found in a 1200-year-old Chinese book, and also in Norway, Africa, North America, and Siberia. Its incidents are almost always very closely similar. There are two men, one is treacherously blinded by the other. Deserted, he finds out, usually supernaturally, how to cure both himself and someone else who is in trouble. He does this and is rewarded, and then, in his honesty, tells the villain how he came about his fortune. The evildoer tries to copy his formula, but something dreadful happens to him instead. In some versions, the African and one gypsy telling, it is a bird or birds that save him. But as often happens in traditional tales, the figure intervening changes according to cultural taste. In the Kyrgyz form, it is a tiger, a fox, and a wolf. In the Norse, where no tigers are to be found, the animals become a wolf, a fox, and a hare. In the 1001 Nights, we find demons, as also in Bengal, and a spirit turns up again in Portugal. In South India, the secret knowledge comes from the goddess Kali, ordinarily a tutelary of destruction, but the Persian narrative softens the figures into that of a poor shepherd with special insights. In addition to folk versions, the story has a formidable literary pedigree. In Tibet, it is in the Kanjur. In India, it figures in the Panchatantra. In Iran, the classical Nizami embodied it into his 7 portraits of 1197. The Hebrew Midrash Haggadah of about the 14th century also has the story. Balkan gypsy versions are known, and it was so popular in Russia that Afanasiev's important collection contains no fewer than 7 variants of the plot. This account embodies the usual common features of the tale. There were once 2 men, one good and one bad, who went on a journey together. They were in quest of their fortune. The good man shared his food with his companion until it was all finished. The good man then asked, "May I have some of your food?" "Certainly not," said the other, and he became so irrationally infuriated that he plucked out the eyes of his unfortunate partner, robbed him of everything he had, and left him alone and helpless in the wilderness. The blinded good man became aware of some birds singing, and decided to climb, feeling his way, into the tree in whose topmost branches they were, to be safe from any prowling wild beasts, at least until the morning, when he might be able to think of some way of continuing his journey. Now it so happened that he found that he could understand the language of the birds. As he listened, he learned from their discussions that any blind person who bathed his eyes in the dew of that place would have his sight restored. Further, the birds said that the daughter of a certain king was ill, but could be healed by the use of a flower which grew nearby. The same flower had the power of locating water and restoring fertility to gardens. The blind man immediately bathed his eyes in the dew and found that he could see. Then he plucked the plant. He made his way to the place where the princess was ill, and having gained admittance, cured her. When he made the king's garden flourish again and found water which was badly needed, he was rewarded by being given the hand of the princess in marriage. He continued happily in this life until the villain who had blinded him turned up again, having heard of his inexplicable good fortune. The miscreant asked him how he had arrived at such a happy and prosperous state. "It was quite simple, in fact," said the honest man, "for he was one who bore no ill will. All I did was go up a certain tree, and I heard what to do from the birds, whose speech I suddenly understood." The bad man thereupon hurried to the place where he had blinded his companion, and waited. Presently the birds arrived and perched on the top of the tree. He found that he understood their speech. They said, Someone has overheard our conversation, for the king's daughter is now well, the garden is blossoming, and water has been found." They looked all around to see whether an eavesdropper was about, saw the bad man, flew down, and pecked out his eyes.